Wednesday, the 17th day of April, the month where stars are born. If you don't believe me, argue with your horoscope. Good morning and welcome. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
I wonder if stars are born in April. When were the moons and suns born? Good morning and welcome. I'm Neota Egbe.
Thank you, Neota, for stepping aside from that conflict. Amaya Makinde, good morning and welcome to the program.
Yes, indeed. Well, we're going to be showing you something pretty soon. Yes, another skyline, which you might or might not have seen. You might know the area, you might not know the area, but take a look. And there you have it, just in case you're wondering where that is. That's another major artery leading up into the city from the Zuba end of the Federal Capital Territory. Zuba is where you have that famous Zuma Rock, something that people usually associate with Abuja and sometimes mixed up with Aso Rock. But they're two different hills, they're two different monuments, natural monuments, I dare say. Zuba is very distinctive, or the Zuma Rock is very distinctive in the type of rock that is there. But you're not seeing it now. So sad. What you're seeing is the major road leading right into the Federal Capital Territory, coming all the way from Zuba to Kubwa to Gwarimpa, and then leading into the Federal Capital Territory. Temperatures today are around 25 degrees very early in the morning. They say it feels like 26, and it's going to get really hot much later, something that we've been experiencing here in the Federal Capital Territory. 35 degrees is set to warm up to. I hope that AEDC or whatever distribution companies in your area gives you something to help you cool off.
Indeed.
But that's what we have, Nyota.
Indeed. If for me, looking towards the top of the screen there, that's my interest. I'm not looking at the road. The road looks beautiful, but then look at towards the top of the screen, you see the fog, and then beyond the fog, you see the outline of those hills. Man, they're just beautiful. Most times, driving on that road, you're just wondering, should I just park and just be looking at the hills and the rocks and beautiful creation there, man.
Indeed.
Indeed, really beautiful. Ayo may not be able to appreciate this as much as we do.
No, certainly. We owe him a tour, because I understand, because, you know, one of the things we're told about the Federal Capital Territory, it was purpose-built.
Yeah.
And those who came here to decide where the city will be situated, you know, had certain things in mind when he eventually settled on the area that is settled on. And one of the things that they found was a natural fortress, which the hills of Abuja provide. So it's certainly something that you can constantly, you know, it will certainly keep you in constant amazement of the wonders of God.
Amazing.
And Ayo was certainly very happy to take you on a tour of this beautiful city. Whenever it is you have the time, because it always happens that people just touch down and go, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you know, what's interesting for me here, Maokwe and Neota, I mean, looking at this, just imagine it color-graded in a movie. That's all I see, guys. I mean, so this is a challenge to Nollywood. We have amazing skylines in this country. And we've only just shown you, mostly just shown you Lagos and Abuja skylines. I've seen videos of some skylines in Kaduna and a number of other cities in the north of Nigeria. So just imagine this color-graded the way you have them in other movies as well. I mean, the view is just astonishing. So we do have them. It's not in China, it's not in Japan, it's not in Taiwan, it's here in Nigeria. So, what's happening today, guys?
In the Federal Capital Territory, but we certainly will be telling you about two of them. First, you have that meeting, the PDP caucus meeting, which will be happening today, I think, at the Bauchi Government House. That's where that meeting is going to be happening. This is all ahead of the PDP convention, which you're hoping will hold, or is it the NEC meeting, beg your pardon?
Yeah.
The PDP NEC meeting, which will be holding very soon. But that's it, party politics. PDP holds national caucus meeting today, right here in Abuja.
And to think that you let me put out this one, climate predictions. Climate prediction, NEMA is, and technical experts are meeting to look at the situations around the weather. Of course, Mark, we talked about the temperatures likely to rise up to 35 degrees. It is hot, and please stay hydrated as much as you can.
Very
but
important.
besides that, also, to know that these are the things happening. There's been predictions about floods. Yesterday, there were meetings to predict about 36 states are likely to be flooded. But the things that need to be done. So that's what's going to be happening today in NEMA. It's going to be having a meeting with technical experts.
The witch cried. The baby must not die.
No baby.
That's why NEMA is meeting today.
No baby is dying. But everyone pay attention to these things because the floods haven't come yet. We're still expecting the rain. We're having a bit of rain here and there. But even the ones that have come with thunderstorms. So please be careful. Look out when you see that it's getting too rough. Find a place of safety.
And very heavy winds.
Yes, indeed.
So please be careful. Please be careful. Ayo, what do you have for us on business?
Well, I do. Just before that, let me just say a little something about the flooding thing. I saw some videos of the flooding in Dubai, and my mind is blown of the things that are possible. God forbid we always say, but we have to play our part. We've had similar things here in Nigeria. We don't want those things again. Now, what is happening on business today is strategies to crash food prices in Nigeria. Remember, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy talked about that, the fact that the food inflation is coming down and Nigeria's revenue is looking up. So what are the strategies to crash food prices in Nigeria? Some of that we'll be discussing today on Business Morning on Sunrise Daily at 10 o'clock. In the meantime, let's take a look at what the papers are saying today.
Let's begin a look at some of the dailies today with the Daily Trust newspaper. Port Harcourt Refinery yet to take off as deadline elapses. And look at the riders. Missed targets characterized previous restart dates. Regulatory compliance tests ongoing. That's according to NNPCL. Find the details of that. What does that mean? On the inside pages of Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Look at the bottom of that picture on the front page. Dangote crashes diesel price to 1,000 naira per litre. How does that resonate with you? The details you find on the inside pages, and that picture on the front pages of a neighborhood in Gaza with a bombardment yesterday. Find the details again on the inside pages of the paper today. Vanguard newspaper. Food inflation slowing, FG's revenue rises. That's according to Edun. Find the details on page 2. Targets more foreign investment inflow. IMF raises forecast for Nigeria's economic growth to 3.3%. Good news, isn't it? This Nigeria newspaper is next. Also talking about food prices. Food prices crashing over economic policies, ascribed to the finance minister at IMF meeting. Food security. Nigeria requires about 312,000 metric tons of plantain seed. You'll be asking yourself, how many do we have now? Well, get the details on the inside pages. Right beside the nameplate, NERC, FG pays 205 billion naira per subsidy as discos withhold 50 billion naira in Q3 of 2023. I'm sure you're interested in the details. Get the copy of the paper for more on that one. Nigerian News Direct. Tinubu launches policy to curb over 4 billion naira revenue loss to import-export infractions. The details of that story you'll find on page 2. To boost trade, generate $2.7 billion revenue. Get the paper for more details. The Guardian newspaper has this one. Biometrics and SIM registration deadlock. Remember, endless enrollment gobs 57 billion naira in 13 years amid complaints, protests. You're wondering what the images on the front page are? Well, the details you'll find on the inside pages of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Leadership newspaper is next, and it's talking about politics. PDP NEC meeting, 24 hours to go. Atiku, Wike camps go for broke. And look at the riders. Move to pass a vote of confidence on Damagun fails. Reps caucus meeting ends in promotion. We're united, indivisible. That's ascribed to lawmakers. And PDP governors meet today. Details of that on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper this morning. New Telegraph is next, also talking politics. PDP reps caucus meeting ends in commotion. As pro-Wike lawmakers move to give Damagun vote of confidence fails, we must take back Aso Rock in 2027. That's according to a caucus. Which one? The details on the inside pages. Leaders' personal interests destroying PDP, ascribed to Chiroma. Party will overcome present challenges, BOT Chair Wabara. That story is ascribed to him. Find the details on the inside pages. And look at that story at the bottom of the picture. Food alert. 31 states, 148 councils risk heavy flooding. That's according to the federal government. Says April to November will be tough for 148 LGAs. Details of that story on page 4 of New Telegraph this morning. Daily Independent also has its own story focusing on politics. PDP reps divided as party holds make or break neck meeting. 60 PDP reps insist Damagun must go. Call for a North Central chairmanship. Disciplinary action against Nyesom Wike. Well, I guess we'll see how that goes, right? The details continue on the inside pages. And look at the story under that picture. Export-import hurdles. Tinubu targets bridging $4 billion loss to bureaucratic bottlenecks. The details of that on the inside pages of the paper today. The Nigerian Tribune also leads with Damagun division in PDP reps sets tone ahead neck. Division in PDP rep sets tone ahead neck. That story is on page 3. G60 squares up to House Minority Leader resists confidence vote as caucus issues 3 months ultimatum to Tinubu to end insecurity. You'll find the details of all of that on the inside pages. We close with the Nigerian Observer. Foreign investors unimpressed by Naira float as FDI falls to $3.7 billion in 2023. Inflows lowest in 10 years. All of the details you'll find on the inside pages of the Nigerian Observer. And with that, we come to a close of some of the papers today.
Or you can share with us any of the headlines that catches your fancy and what it is that you'd like to talk about on the front pages of any of the dailies reviewed for you this morning. But 3 major stories stand out for me. I'm going to be focusing on 2 on one particular front page and hope that my colleagues will pick one of the other ones which is actually agitating my mind. But take a look at the front page of Daily Trust. And I think that when you take a look at the front page and the lead headline, you'll know that somebody has some explaining to do. Take a look at that story. Port Harcourt refinery yet to take off as deadline elapses. That's a lead story on the front page of Daily Trust. Big questions to ask because a few months ago we saw smoke. Was it smoke or what was that? Gas being fled from the refinery. That's what we saw, which was supposed to indicate that the refinery had finally started. But this is how many months down the line now. It doesn't appear that much is coming out from that refinery, if anything at all. So what exactly was the gas being fled from that refinery about? Was it to fool the people? Because at that time, there was also some controversy. While people really wanted to be happy that the refinery was back on stream, there were those who were skeptical that that was something being done as a matter of deception. So was that what it really was? Was there an attempt to try and deceive the people? I think that there needs to be some explaining to what we saw in December with the gas situation being fled. It was widely reported. The shots of that were shown in many media houses. The flare was also shown, pictures of it were on the front pages of many newspapers. And that gave a lot of hope that, refineries, at least there was now some local refining capacity. But months down the line, with this story coming on board, Port Harcourt refinery yet to take off as deadline elapses, we suddenly demand some explanation, and it is within the rights of citizens to do that. But if you look at that, while, the story, there's a question or there are questions to be asked about that lead headline, if you look at the bottom, Dangote crashes diesel price to 1,000 naira. it certainly gives you something. 1,000 naira per litre, just if you're wondering, it certainly leaves you something to share. We also saw that the company came out the other day, to show that they have now started lifting products from their refinery for distribution to the market. And we're hearing now that, the price of diesel has now been crashed to 1,000 naira per litre, which should be some good news for those who heavily depend on this particular product for transportation. And we know that food prices are sometimes connected to transport costs. So certainly we're hoping that as the minister is, saying that food inflation is slowing down, even though the figures are not saying so, that this will begin to have some impact on what food prices eventually begin to say. I guess I've given a hint of the other story that is catching my fancy, but that's the other story which I'd like to highlight on the front page of Daily Trust.
Marco, it's one thing for those in authority to say things will come down and food prices will drop, but the woman or the man who's out there selling that yam or that gari or the meat and all of that is thinking something else altogether. It's calculating how much pain and pressure he or she has to go through to deliver that product from the source to the market. And that, to them, is a better way to calculate how much it will cost. And then whatever I make from this, how long would it last before the next time I succeed in moving, not even season, the next time I succeed in moving the product from the source to the market. That's what they look at to calculate. And someone will say, why would you be talking about how long would it take me to bring the product out again? But I'm not the man out there who's selling this, but this is from someone who's bringing vegetables from the farm to the market. And he's talking about all that he has to calculate. What's it costing me in terms of protection, in terms of transportation to move from the farm to get to the market?
The idea now is that if diesel prices are cheaper,
the cost of transport
will
reduce.
The cost of transportation hopefully should come down, and that should have
should
a knock-on
affect
effect, yes, on the prices of
Well,
commodities.
we hope for that.
And also for companies that use diesel. I mean, that certainly should also bring down cost of production.
And someone said, why don't we just look at those boys who are doing the illegal refining out there? Because the truth is they are selling those products. There are companies in those areas who are buying those products from them. And they are buying at a cheaper rate, but guess what? They are calculating at the cost of the general market rate. But that's not my story in focus. My story in focus has to do with our data. Oh, Guardian, that story, they captured it clearly. Biometric and SIM registration deadlock. You can see 57 billion naira spent in 13 years just to register, as they put it, endless enrollments. Gulf's 57 billion naira.
And still not the whole. The entire country is still not enrolled.
Hold on, see the statistics here. So, NIMC issues 105 million names, 13 years of SIM registration in Nigeria. So, SIM, NIN, BVN, PVC, immigration data, harmonization, slow. It's still not done. So that there will be one source. That is when you go in, you want to get your passport or your driver's license, all you need to do is just walk in there and they punch in your name and everything comes out.
Is there a central coordinating office for all of this data?
It's supposed to be. That's where NIMC comes in. That's where all the data is supposed to be coordinated and put together. So you have, so that the number of cards you're carrying in your wallet, for instance, you have your ATM, you have your NIN card, you have your national identity card, you have your voter's registration, you have your driver's, all manner of it's all in that place. Come on. So you find that then you have the passport. You want to go to get an international passport, a travel document. Another set of captioning has to take place.
But I'm happy that, in all of this captioning now, right now, there's nowhere you'll go to where your NIN is not required.
No, you have to give
your passport, your driver's license. I think the only place you're waiting for now is for voters registration. And I think that if we can get it right with regards to the NIN, and every Nigerian has it, maybe voters registration might become redundant. Who knows?
Carrying the voter's card.
Indeed.
So we're looking forward to that time when all the data will be harmonized and things will go smoothly. So these are the telcos have connected. This one shocks me. 318 million telephone lines from 400,000 Nitel lines in 23 years. That's what the telecommunication companies have done. And SIM registration has got about, as I said, 57 billion. But 220 million active telephone lines and 99 dormant lines. Who has all those lines? Well, just about 200 million, a little over 200 million Nigerians. And we have This is over 300 million telephone lines already.
Well, I have two. I don't know how many you have.
I have one.
How many lines do you have, and what are the stories?
That's it. That question you asked, Malpe, is a national security question that we are going to keep as a matter of urgent national importance. In the meantime, what gets me, what's important to me this morning is something that you have also stated earlier about talking about the flooding. When we say that 148 local governments in 31 states are at risk, and 249 others, including FCT, are at risk. That's on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper this morning, and we know that these things were going to happen. Thankfully, you both pointed it to us this morning that NEMA is going to have some kind of meeting. So can we, have some conversation with all the people who will be at that meeting this morning? Look, let everyone be aware of what needs to be done. States have their responsibilities. The local government officers have their responsibilities. Federal government agencies have their responsibilities. Community leaders do have their own responsibilities as well, and we cannot just brush these things aside. Don't forget, if you add 148 and 249 local governments, including the FCT, in fact, it's like the FCT is one local government, or maybe all the local governments, so the entire city is right now at risk. That is what this report is saying. We've had terrible flooding within a decade, 2012 and 2022. We don't want a repeat of that. And what has happened in Dubai only recently only points us to the fact that these are possibilities. And we are one ahead. Let us do the needful to protect lives, property, and even our own history. Well, that's the much of the papers we can take this morning. So let's take a short break. And when we return, that conversation that Malpe and Nelta began, we're going to go into it. Stay with us.
With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe, just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Glovo deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Glovo, order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Senior executives face local macroeconomic turbulence and global geopolitical upheavals. Don't worry, Texam UK got your back. A transformative journey with Texam Strategies for Sustainable Organizational Success Program, April 24 to 25, 2024, in Lagos will position you and your organization for these challenges. Our interactive sessions, games, assessments, and peer-to-peer learning are unique with a great faculty led by John Peters, former chair, Association of MBAs and ex-prisoner of war, delivering actionable insights for you to navigate uncertainties and thrive. Pay 3,155,215 Naira by March 15th for your spot and enrich your leadership skills in resilience, innovation, and sustainable growth. Apply now via +44 7425 883 791 or exec@texam.co.uk. It's a strategic opportunity to win. Texam, insights that inspire, actions that change the world.
With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe, just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Glovo deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Glovo, order anything, we deliver in minutes.
It's the president's first official engagement after the Eid al-Fitr holidays, and his attention is on addressing the challenges within Nigeria's business environment. To ensure smooth trade facilitation in the country, the Tinubu administration initiated the National Single Window Project, which seeks to address the bottlenecks and corruption eminent in the country's trade system and to also facilitate the clearance of cargo at the ports. The president is here to inaugurate the Implementation Steering Committee, comprising the Nigeria Customs Service, the Federal Ministry of Finance, and the Federal Inland Revenue Service, among other agencies.
This initiative will serve as a catalyst for achieving an average GDP growth rate of 7% annually, propelling Nigeria to new heights of prosperity. Paperless trade alone is projected to bring an annual economic benefit of around $2.7 billion USD. A testament to the transformative power of this initiative.
President Tinubu believes the policy will also enhance Nigeria's trade relations with other African countries while also boosting revenue generation.
We cannot afford to lose an estimated $4 billion in US dollars annually to red tape, bureaucracy, delays, and corruption at our ports. The national single window will address these issues headlong, preventing revenue leakage and facilitating effective trade. By doing so, we will create a more transparent, secure, and business-friendly environment that will attract investment and support economic growth.
From the council chamber, members of the committee briefed State House correspondents at the press gallery, where the Controller General of the Nigeria Customs Service highlights steps being taken towards the reopening of Nigeria's land borders.
In terms of opening the land borders, consultations are already in progress, some of them at very high level. Over the last weekend, I had an interaction with my colleagues in the Benin Republic. Earlier, I had gone to our borders in the Niger Republic. We are looking at the issues that led to the closures of the border in the first instance.
The president urges members of the Implementation Steering Committee to bring their expertise to bear in charting a new landscape for Nigeria's trade environment. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Muda Yusuf joins us this morning. Dr. Muda Yusuf, I dare say, is a founder and CEO of Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, my pleasure.
National Single Window, Single Treasury Account, and Treasury Single Account, and so many other centralized stuff like that the federal government has had to come up with. This is a new one, or is this something that has been with us before?
Well, it's not particularly new. We have been on this concept of single window for close to 10 years. But for some reasons, we couldn't find the political will to drive it. And the reason being that there are elements within the ecosystem that are benefiting from the status quo, who have been frustrating, this whole idea of single window. Because just as the president said, this is the way to go in this time and age. This is about leveraging technology to facilitate trade. In many other climes where things work well, you don't go to the ports and start carrying paper from table to table, or going to some agencies that are even outside the ports, moving from Apapa to Lekki just because you want to sign some documents to be able to clear your consignment or your cargo. It's the most inefficient thing that you can have.
When you say some elements within the ecosystem are benefiting from it, were they doing anything outside the law?
Of course. I mean, the president alluded to it, and even the president talked about red tape. And you know, there is also a relation between red tape and corruption.
What I'm trying to,
Yes.
make is, if they are doing anything against the law, how come that law has not caught up with them until now?
Well, that's a different matter. It's not as if they are doing anything against the law.
Okay.
But when you have a process that is highly bureaucratic, that gives people opportunities for physical interaction, you know, that also gives so much room for discretion, that's a fertile ground for corruption, extortion, and delays, inefficiency, which is also affecting the cost of goods and services. Because when we talk about this inflation, high cost of goods, high cost of living, a good component of it is also coming from the international trade system. So what is being done now is to leverage technology to bring efficiency into the whole process.
At the end of the day, Dr. Yusuf, it's about people. Human beings are at the behest of any technology, whether it's going to work or not. I don't know for how long the Lagos State government with the federal government has been trying to use technology to deal with the issue of congestion at the ports. We are not unaware of efforts being made by some of these elements, perhaps, that you talked about, to make sure that that system doesn't work. I haven't been in that area in a while, but I don't know how effective that has been over the years to ensure that people allow technology to work.
Well, the people factor is a major factor because technology cannot work itself. And just as they say, garbage in, garbage out. And people have all manner of ways of frustrating the system. But the difference this time around from what I'm perceiving is that we are throwing behind this a very strong political will. Because for the president himself to inaugurate this implementation steering committee on single window shows that the president is also committed to ensuring that these things happen. And any obstacles, I'm sure, will not be able to stand, you know, the presidential will to make these things happen. So that is what I think will make the difference. We have people within the system who have the capacity to make things work, who have disposition to make things work. So it's a question of the determination to make it work. And you need the political will to make that happen.
Okay, now there are some promises that have been made according to the information that the president gave us in that brief information on the screen earlier. Part of it is probably be seeing it as well again, to simplify government trade, compliance through a digital platform. That's it right there on your screen. Unlock the doors to economic prosperity and all other opportunities and a number of others. What are for the first one, what are the obstacles or challenges you see in the way? As we said, you've talked about the importance of the people element. And it's not just at the ports, also at the borders. That is why we have people from Customs and Immigration at that meeting. How do we ensure that this system indeed works?
Well, it's going to be an integrated system. And the leadership of the key organizations, I think they were also presented, and they are members of that committee, have a responsibility to make it work. Because this is about a presidential mandate. And the president also has a very strong compliance and monitoring system, evaluation system, framework, to ensure that whatever decision is taken is accomplished. So for me, to make it work is a management issue. A goal has been set. Resources should be provided to make it achievable. If we need to develop capacities of agencies involved, that should be accelerated so that you have the right capacity. If we need to outsource, to bridge any capacity gaps, there should be that kind of outsourcing. Because if there are capacities that are lacking within the public sector space, you can find them in the private sector. So we should not have any excuse. So for me, it's essentially a question of management. Setting objectives, providing the resources, and making sure that these things are achieved. Because this matter is extremely very critical to the economy.
What's important to me, and perhaps to you as a businessman, and several others, in the business sector and the private sector, as you have talked about, is the impact. So how do you envision this project impacting on business?
No,
broad trade
the impact will be significant. You know, no matter what sector you talk about, what happens in the import-export processes impact the sector, directly or indirectly. Whether you are in manufacturing, whether you are in mining, whether you are in broadcasting. I mean, we import equipment for broadcasting. And if you talk to those who clear some of these things, they will tell you the kind of experience they go through. So first, there will be an impact in terms of the efficiency. Because when you bring technology into a space, the value proposition is the efficiency that it brings. And efficiency reduces cost of operation. It reduces the time it takes for you to conduct the business. Right now, because of some of these delays, a lot of importers pay a lot of demurrage. And demurrage arises from the delays at the ports.
Do you see that?
And some of these delays were not caused by them. Wow. So the whole essence of this is to fast-track the process and remove all this inefficiency that causes the delays. The second point is the reduction in the human interface. Because the whole concept of this single window is that, because it's entirely technology-driven. So you can sit in the comfort of your office, feed in all the data, all the information about your imports or your exports, in a way that all the agencies that need anything to do with it will be able to interact with it online, process it, give approval, you make the necessary payment, and you get your cargo out. So removing the human interface is key, and that also helps to remove corruption. The president talked about corruption. Because the more human interface you have, the greater the risk of corruption.
Okay. Well, you know? One of the comments also made borders on the paperless trade. So, particularly for SMEs, how do you anticipate that such technological advancements will impact the SMEs, and by that foster entrepreneurship in the country?
No, it will. I mean, a lot of SMEs are now getting more technologically aware. You know, we are not talking about complex IT systems. It's a question of uploading your information on the portal. Simple. And if you can't do it, quite a number of them also have agents that work with them for these purposes.
So how about all those 100% scanning of
No, it's all part of the modernization. The customs has what they call customs modernization project. So it's a package, and I'm sure this single window will also feed into that. Because I know that a lot of efforts has been made in terms of the scanners, so that you don't have situations where you have physical examination of cargo. Again, this is about technology. So the application of technology is not limited only to the documentation issues. It's also critical for the process of examination of the cargo. And to do that is about scanner. And I'm aware, I don't know how far they have gone as I speak, but I'm aware that there has been a lot of investment in this customs modernization project, which involves the provision of scanners. And even under the previous administration, there was some commissioning of some scanners. I don't know how well they are working. But again, it is the responsibility of agencies concerned that these things work. And if there are gaps in terms of capacity for implementation, those gaps can be filled. If they can't be filled within the system, they can be filled through outsourcing. We are not short of people who have the skills to make these things work. So it's all embracing. It's all about bringing technology to drive efficiency and to reduce cost.
Clearly, this initiative will thrive on collaboration.
Yes.
What are the bottlenecks you see in that regard? Because, you know, it's always a thing of pride for one agency to say, this is the thing we did. We did this one. We want to champion this. Everyone wants to take the plaque, so to speak. For
no, the point is that...
So how do you see collaboration working?
Yeah.
And what are the bottlenecks you see in the way of that collaboration?
Well, collaboration, up until now, there are issues about territorialism, where people have a territorial mindset, that this is my space. People want to assert their independence. And some of these people who are involved in it are reporting to different authorities. These things are not centralized. And that is why the role of coordination is extremely very important. The president has a coordinating minister for the economy. And they also have a coordinating special advisor on coordination in the presidency. So they have a big role to play to ensure that none of the agencies involved in this slows down this process. So it's a question of ensuring effective coordination at the highest level. Because that is key, because this is now technology. From the comfort of the office of the coordinating minister, he can examine all of these things. He can see what is happening. There can be systems in place to determine where delays are coming from. And if delays are traceable to any particular agency, those agencies will have questions to answer.
On that, do you suspect the possibility of some kind of sabotage? Because we understand that the former DG of NPA that had Isabella Mohammed, Bala Usman, tried to push this particular initiative. Do you see any chance of any kind of sabotage from anywhere?
Well, what is important is that wherever that is noticed, there has to be consequences. Again, it comes back to political will.
First of all, let's answer that question of whether
no,
or
of
not
course,
you see it happening.
Of course. I mean, it's a possibility. If you have people who are benefiting from a particular system, and you now want to change the system, naturally, the risk of sabotaging it or creating obstacles to it, that risk will always be there. Because people have self-interest in the status quo. But we are now talking about the overall national interest. To make this economy work better, to reduce costs, and to also make sure that we even get more revenue. Because there's a lot, I mean, this economy has very huge informal economy. There are a lot of some of these things that are not even properly captured, you know, in the database of either the tax authorities or relevant government agencies. But now that we are talking about technology, we have a lot of valuable data. That is why the president was talking about the impact of this on revenue, because it also has a revenue effect.
Okay. Now, part of the conversation also would be asking the question around how you see this coordination happening, how you see this steering committee working. Who, for instance, which agency would you think should be leading this single window project of the federal government?
Well, I think it should be the customs. The customs have, I think, a much bigger role in this space, because the customs interfaces a lot more with activities that relate to imports, to exports, to import duty collection, and things like that.
But you also know that...
And just as you said, there are other agencies that are also involved.
But you also know that in more businessmen such as yourself, particularly those in the import-export business, would consider themselves more vilified by customs. So some will be wondering, wait a minute, why should the customs agency lead this when there are other agencies that they can feel safer with?
No. It's a question of the commitment of the leadership. And I know, because I have some insight into this, that the current leadership of the customs is committed to the reforms of this president. Because he's a career officer and is committed to it. And he has demonstrated a lot of passion about this technology-driven system. And in any case, the final power doesn't lie with the customs. You can see that The coordinating minister is, for instance, the chairman of the customs board. The coordinating minister of the economy, or I'm not sure, he wasn't there because I think he had an IMF meeting or World Bank meeting or so. This is going to be, he's going to sit at top of all of this by virtue of his role as the coordinating minister. So if there is any lapses from any organization, he has a responsibility to ensure that things work better and the mandate of the president is achieved. And just as I said, Madam Bala Usman is also there to ensure oversight in terms of ensuring delivery. Performance management framework is there.
Being a revenue generating project,
yes,
and being that the customs is not the only one at the forefront, we also have immigration services. You don't think it is something that should be led by maybe an FIRS or something?
Well, FIRS has a big role, but the coordinating minister oversees the customs, oversees FIRS. So it's strategic that he's at the head of all of these things. Okay. And is directly answerable to the president as far as these issues are concerned. So from the point of view of coordination and the critical agencies, I think getting the coordinating minister to be on top of this, I think will give us the best outcomes. Because there is a trade facilitation issue, which the president mentioned. There's a revenue issue, which the president mentioned. And the key agencies involved in this are reporting to the Minister of Finance, who is also the coordinating minister of the economy. So I think we have the framework to deliver these outcomes. Okay. I think so.
One of the challenges, you have talked about the human interface quite a few times. The challenge of some of our initiatives is never in the people, in whether or not it's a fantastic idea. It's always in the implementation. And the challenge of implementation a good number of times is in whether or not it is communicated and how it is communicated. And by communication, I don't mean just informing the people who are going to get it done. I mean them really understanding what the issues are and implementing to the letter. How prepared would you say the agencies are at our various entry points for this single window project, the implementation?
Well, I'm not an insider as such, so I don't know how much of training, how much of awareness has taken place, how much of capacity building has taken place, but these are the elements that will facilitate the implementation. Because apart from the sincerity of purpose, capacity also matters, because we are talking of an IT-driven system. We need the capacity in the area of IT, apart from issues of integrity and all of that. So those things matter. So for me, again, it's a governance issue, it's a management issue to ensure that whichever agency is part of this has the capacity to be able to function properly, and we can do an audit of capacity. If there are capacity gaps, we fill it up. What is important is the outcome. We have to deliver the results.
Well, a number of other questions to ask you, but let's take one quick break, and then my colleagues in Abuja will take you on.
Yeah,
Please stay with us.
The future belongs to the dreamers, to the doers, to those who are not afraid of the side hustle. It's for those who are ready to turn their passion into something big. And to help keep you revitalized and inspired, Top Tea is with you every step of the way. You are made for more. Find your inspiration. Top Tea, big round bags of flavor.
With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Glovo deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Glovo, order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Well, thank you for all of the insights that you've provided so far, Dr. Muda Yusuf. I mean, to the single window, the fact that you acknowledge that it's not the first time that Nigeria has tried to use this single window portal. And you've also said that, you know, what is different now is this steering committee, and it does appear that there is a stronger will to get it going. So for those who are, you know, currently in business and have to use the ports, etc., I'm wondering how quickly, when the single window finally gets underway, how quickly do you think it should begin to feel the effect?
Well, it's likely to be immediate because we are talking about technology. We are talking about eliminating human interface. We are talking about inefficiencies. The bigger issue or the bigger obstacle to it is the readiness of the agencies to deliver it. Those who are stakeholders in the economy, who are business people, they are ever ready to just fill in their information, make their declarations online, do their processes. So in fact, they are very eager, they are excited about it. So once these things get up and running, we are seeing the implementation committee. I don't know whether there is any timeline that has been given for the final takeoff of this single window. But whenever it takes off, the stakeholders in the economy, the business people, the freight forwarders, they're ever ready because it's also in their own interest. A lot of them are paying huge demurrage as a result of delays. Some of them suffer problem of extortion. Some of them are paying a lot of interest in terms of the cost of fund that they have used to import some of these things. Some of them are carrying huge inventories, which normally they should not be carrying if we had a seamless international trade process. So they are eager. The challenge of the timeliness depends a lot on the readiness of the agencies to deliver, to roll out this. In terms of the private sector, they're ever ready. And once that happens, I mean, we begin to see the impact of the efficiency on costs, on the speed of clearance of cargo, on efficiency, and on top of that, we're likely to see an improvement in government revenue because this is going to capture all the data that relates to import and exports so that you can't be somebody who is bringing in 10 containers, 20 containers, and there is no evidence that you are paying any tax. This will help to capture all this information, which is also good for the economy and good for government revenue as well.
I'm looking at the backlog because right now it does appear that it is people who are about to or who are in the process of bringing in goods who might be benefiting from the president's new mandate. For those who have goods that have already been imported and, you know, are wondering how will they go about it? You know, how quickly, I mean, do you think that it should be prioritized as a show of willingness on the part of those who are to implement this to, you know, to get things started and you know, show the tone of the president in terms of what he's spoken about in the single window?
Well, what I will say is that, you know, this is a process. This is about the clearance of cargo. You bring in a cargo, you are moving it through the system, take it out of the ports. For the cargo that are already here, they are already in the process under the current dispensation. But this is why I was talking about timeline. I don't have information about the timeline for the full takeoff of this single window. If you have the timeline, then we can now begin to monitor. And the stakeholders also have a responsibility to monitor. The agencies have a responsibility to regularly interact with the stakeholders, to get feedback from them on how well this is working. This is a very big project. So the moment it starts, I'm sure everybody will benefit from it. But for those who are already in the process, of course, they have to continue under the current dispensation. But once it starts, and we are now fully applying technology, then those whose cargoes are just coming in or who are just intended to import, they now begin to, you know, operate under the new technology-driven platform. So it's a flow, it's a process. Those who have passed through it have passed through the old system. Those who are coming, the moment these systems are in place, they will go through the new technology-driven system. the way I think it's likely to work.
Oftentimes when we look at this, and it's a good thing you mentioned feedback. I do not know if there's a process in place for people who will be using this window if they're not satisfied with the service, or if there are any complaints with the system. If they have a process to be able to send their feedback. It will be very important that is also a part of the feature of the single window. But what I want to also highlight is exports, because oftentimes when we talk about business, we're always talking about people bringing in goods into the country. How does this also ease the process for those who intend to export goods outside of the country?
No, it's going to, because this is about international trade. International trade is about import and export. This is about having a technology-driven trade process. Trade is about export, it's about imports. In fact, at a time like this, we should even be talking more about exports. So it's going to apply in equal measure to both export and import. But unfortunately, if you look at the traffic at the ports, it's almost 90% or even 95% imports. And it's a narrative that, of course, we need to change through all these ongoing reforms and so on. But to answer your question, it's something that will benefit both the exporters and the importers. And there's also a need, if you ask me, to even prioritize the exporters. Because right now, there's a lot of challenge with the export process. In the import system, you even have what you call fast track and all of these things. In the export system, there's nothing like a fast track. Sometimes both export cargo and those who are imported, all these things are lumped together.
You see
so we need to ensure that we accord a lot more priority even to export in the light of our desire to ensure that we diversify our foreign exchange earnings. That is very key.
Do you see a role for the Standards Organization of Nigeria in that export part?
No, they have a role. Standard Organization of Nigeria has a role. NAFDAC has a role. Plant Quarantine has a role. They have quite a number of agencies. And if you can even seize this opportunity to streamline those agencies, that will also help. Because when you have too many agencies, some of them with overlapping mandates, they also create problems for the system.
So on a final note, the president talked about countries that have significantly improved their trade efficiency after implementing a similar system such as the single window. How do you think Nigeria can learn from these experiences to accelerate our own economic agenda sustainably?
Well, I think it's to share experiences. And I know that even in the process leading up to this, some of those agencies have even visited some of these spots to see how these things are working, because I have information to that effect, to see how these things work in other climes. So this is an opportunity now to put all of these things into practice. It's about capacity. I mean, if all these other African countries can do it, Rwanda, Ghana, and the rest of them, why can't we do it?
Do you see this affecting the price of food directly?
It will.
How?
It will, because there's a lot of inefficiency costs in the import-export process. And if you are talking about food, there are some elements of food that are imported. If you take flour now, you need wheat to produce flour. You need flour to produce bread, to produce noodles, and all of these things. So if it becomes easier to bring in flour, you don't run into a problem of bureaucracy, you don't run into a problem of demurrage, delays, and all of that, it will bring down your costs. The same thing with raw materials with many of these food processing companies. So once those costs also come down, it should ultimately reflect in prices of food and other items.
If you can do this in 30 seconds, consequences for non-compliance.
There has to be firm.
How?
There are a lot of sanctions we are talking of a presidential order. If you are flouting a presidential order, you are putting your jobs at risk. And if there are even criminal sides to it, you could be prosecuted.
Well, I guess you've given us some inkling into the next conversation we're having on Business Morning on Sunrise Daily this morning, which will be talking about strategies to crash food prices in Nigeria. Dr. Muda Yusuf, founder, CEO, Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And your insight this morning. So let's switch to the business studio for Business Morning on Sunrise Daily.
Thank you, Ayo. Well, welcome to the midweek trading session for this week. Good morning, good evening, wherever the world you might be watching from. Let's get to the top stories that set your agenda now. Starting with the oil industry, we see Dangote Petroleum Refinery has slashed the price of diesel from 1,200 to 1,000 naira per litre, following a 30% reduction just about 3 weeks ago. The move aims to alleviate economic strain and tackle high inflation rates in Nigeria, promising widespread benefits across industries. This bold initiative underscores the refinery's commitment to driving positive economic change, offering relief to businesses and consumers alike. And oil prices eased in early trade today as worries about global demand due to weak economic momentum in China and fading hopes for U.S. interest rate cuts in the near term outweigh supply fears on heightened tensions in the Middle East. You know how the oil market works is either supply issues or demand issues. And we were seeing demand issues move markets today. $89.16 a barrel. That's what we have for Brent, down 0.1%, losing that $90 mark. WTI crude holding on to the $85 level, at $85.26 a barrel, also down 0.1%. Let's get a quick check on the crypto market. Now we're seeing short-term correction. That seems to be in play with Bitcoin up 0.37%, far from the highs of about $70,000. Ethereum holding on to the $3,000 level, 0.29% down on the flip side. And we see a mixed bag with XRP up about 0.72%. So that's how the crypto market is looking this morning. Let's get a check on the local bourse. Now we've lost that 100,000 level for the all share index. That's talking about the NGX, down about 90-some thousand for the all share index. The last time we went below 100K was that was in March, I believe. So we've lost that level at this time. Let's get a check on the FX. Now we see FX reserves have taken a sharp hit, dropping by about $1.84 billion in just 26 days, as the Central Bank of Nigeria intensifies efforts to stabilize the naira. As of April the 12th, data from the CBN reveals reserves standing at $32.61 billion. That's a significant decline from $34.45 billion recorded on March the 18th this year. Analysts believe the decline can be attributed to the CBN's active interventions in the FX market to bolster the naira. This downturn marks the lowest reserves level since September 29, 2017, when reserves were about $32 billion. And now to our first conversation. So look at Nigeria's automobile industry as CFAO by Toyota cements its position as a top distributor of Toyota cars in Nigeria. Let's get a sense of plans for the future now. Joining us is Fumi Abiola, Head of Marketing and Communications, CFAO Mobility. Great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic.
It's good to be on the show.
Great to have you. So we're seeing Toyota by CFAO. You've been categorized as the second official distributor of Toyota in Toyota cars in Nigeria. Could you explain the significance of this distinction and how it differentiates you from other distributors in the region?
Okay, so I'd like to share the context of Toyota by CFAO to give better understanding of the significance of our distributorship. I know there are a lot of Toyota showrooms in Nigeria, but it's important to note that Toyota by CFAO is the Toyota distributor, the second Toyota distributor of Toyota in Nigeria. We are a subsidiary of the CFAO group. So CFAO Mobility Nigeria is a subsidiary of the CFAO group. The CFAO group is the subsidiary of Toyota Social Corporation, which is the trading company of the Toyota Group. And so we are authorized to sell Toyota cars in Nigeria. We are also authorized to service Toyota products in Nigeria. So this gives the context of Toyota by CFAO in Nigeria.
Can you provide an overview of Toyota by CFAO's journey, since, its establishment and, playing in this market? What milestone achievements have you reached so far?
Okay, so Toyota by CFAO was established in May last year, and after about a year, we've been able to put in place a team that has been trained to meet the customer's needs. So the focus has really been on after sales, because we understand that there are a lot of Toyota products available in Nigeria, but after sales is a key point. We have ensured that we have our genuine spare parts available. We have ensured that we have a technical team that is trained to meet the customer's expectations. We have ensured that we also have a customer support in place to address the needs of our customers. So these are some of the milestones that we can note since we've joined the Nigerian market. And so far, the journey has been interesting and good.
I can imagine quite an interesting journey there. But in terms of market acceptance now, can you share insights into how, Toyota by CFAO has been received, by the Nigerian market so far?
So CFAO has been in Nigeria for 120 years, so I believe that we're well accepted in Nigeria. Toyota also is the leading brand in Nigeria, so the acceptance has been there. We continue to create awareness for Toyota by CFAO as the second distributor of Toyota in Nigeria. And yes, so far the journey has been good and the products are well accepted. We have a wide range of products, from passenger cars to SUVs to the pickup to buses. We have different variants of these products, and these are the products authorized to be distributed in Nigeria. And so Nigerians have been, interested, have been coming to our showrooms, visiting our different locations, and so far the acceptance has been good.
All right, talking about the showrooms at this time, talk to me about the range of models that Toyota by CFAO offers in both the passenger and commercial vehicle segments, and how these offerings, cater to the diverse needs of your customers.
Okay, so as I said, we have a wide range of products. We have about 13 models available for the Nigerian market. We have from small passenger cars to SUVs to pickups, buses, and we have this wide range because we know that our consumers or our customers have different needs. So our different products meet our customers at their various needs. We also have different variants of specific products, which ensures that, you have the premium of a specific model, but you also have the entry level, so that at least for different, our products are as accessible as possible for the different budgets of our customers.
I guess making the sale is one thing, and buying the car is one thing, but talk to me about after-sale experience. What's that like for customers?
So we are a customer-centric brand. What is important to note is that we put the needs of the customer at that's the heart of what we do. So it's very important for us to put the focus on after sales, because we know that it's the customer life cycle that we're looking at. Buying a car is an investment, and we don't just want you to buy a car and walk away. We want you to be able to use the car for as long as possible. And so for after sales, we have genuine parts available. We also have maintenance contracts to ensure that your car can be serviced during the vehicle life cycle so that you enjoy your product for as long as possible.
All right, talk to me about when a customer, visits a Toyota by CFAO after-sale facility. What should they expect in terms of, service quality, turnaround time, and the overall experience?
They should expect a redefined experience. So as I mentioned, the focus is really on the experience of the customer. When a customer walks into the showroom, they have the option of booking an appointment so that we are aware they're coming. They have an allotted slot, if it's for after sales, that is. If it's for sales, they're free to walk into our showrooms. We have trained sales executives that are there to identify their needs and also to match their needs with the product that is most suitable for them. We have in after sales a trained team of service advisors. So when you walk in, the service advisor welcomes you. The service advisor, understands what the challenges you have with your car are. The service advisor's role is also to notify you on the expected lead time of your vehicle in the workshop. The service advisor would ensure that they liaise with the technician and ensure that your car is serviced or repaired as needed. And so the idea is really to exceed customers' expectations.
And we know sometimes, some mechanics can be a headache to car owners. Are the technicians at Toyota by CFAO, specifically trained for the Toyota brand?
Yes. So as an official distributor of Toyota, our technicians undergo trainings by the manufacturers. They undergo trainings in Japan and South Africa. And so we have a selected specially trained technicians for the different products that we have on ground. Our general manager of after sales has also worked in different countries, has kickstarted different after sales centers for Toyota. And so we know that with that expertise, we are a good destination for people who want to service or repair their cars.
All right, outline the warranty offerings, for me now that Toyota by CFAO provides to its customers, and how does, this, demonstrate your commitment to customer satisfaction and product reliability?
So warranty is a very important aspect that, sometimes is not really considered. The warranty of a car is 3 years. The warranty we offer is 3 years, but we are able to extend the warranty. We also have recall campaigns. So for example, if there is need to recall the vehicle, we can recall those vehicles for the customers. And so that's why it's important for Nigerians to buy their Toyota cars from official distributors so that they can enjoy the warranty. To be able to enjoy the warranty, you have to use genuine spare parts, and that is why we also have, after sales packages to ensure that the spare parts are accessible to the customers, and so they don't void their warranty by using roadside mechanics, because if you use non-genuine spare parts, then your warranty you would void your warranty. And so it's very important that, you don't just think about purchasing the car, but you understand that when you purchase your car from Toyota by CFAO, you can enjoy your warranty for up to 3 years, and it's extended to 7 years in some cases.
Yeah, getting genuine spare parts can be quite a hassle. But what are the unique, value propositions that Toyota by CFAO brings to the market, that sets you apart from other distributorships in terms of service delivery, customer support, and overall experience?
Okay, so as I said again, CFAO has been in Nigeria for 120 years. We are experts and we're a key player in the mobility field. So being a distributor of Toyota that is also known, Toyota needs no introduction. The products are reliable, they're rugged, but we bring our expertise in terms of market understanding. So we understand what the needs of the customers are, and we ensure that we provide the services that are needed, the expertise that is required. We also do not just sell the cars, we are focused on the customer. So we have, for example, our customer service team that would call the customer to ensure that, they've received the car, to ensure that they had a good reception at the showroom or at the workshop, and also to get feedback so that if there are required actions or things that need to be addressed, we can address it promptly. So these are some of the things that you would enjoy when you come to Toyota by CFAO. And this is what really sets us apart. It's our expertise, it's our experience on the Nigerian market, and it's also the fact that CFAO Mobility is the distributor of Toyota in 37 African markets. So it's not just in Nigeria. We may be new to the Nigerian market, but we definitely have been in Africa for a while. This is what we do.
All right, let's look at some of your partnerships now. Give us an update on the status of Toyota by CFAO's partnership with the brand Toyota itself.
Okay, so as I said, we're a distributor of Toyota in Nigeria. That means that we have an agreement to distribute Toyota cars in Nigeria. But again, we are a CFAO Mobility, a subsidiary of the CFAO Group, and the CFAO Group is a subsidiary of Toyota Tsusho Corporation. Toyota Tsusho Corporation is the trading company of the Toyota Group. So you can see that we have close ties with Toyota, and we distribute again in 37 African countries.
Right, and right now, everyone, you can't deny that cars are really, really expensive now with the devaluation of the Naira. Talk to me about offerings, when it comes to financing packages to customers.
Okay, so we understand that accessibility is a key issue, and we have a leasing company with CFAO Mobility called Luxea, and so Luxea does offer solutions for corporate organizations to make vehicles accessible. So we lease vehicles through Luxea by CFAO, and they also have a fleet management service as well. But for consumers, we have possibilities to finance through their banks. So these are the options that we have currently on ground.
All right, looking ahead, where do you see Toyota by CFAO, say, in a couple of years?
Okay, so we have a lot of ambition for the Nigerian market. I think beyond our ambitions and our sales expectations and, market share expectations, what is important to note is that we would like to be a key player in the industry, providing solutions for customers. We would want customers to really enjoy a redefined Toyota experience, meaning peace of mind, meaning a partner that can meet their expectations in terms of, the range of products that they expect to buy, at the right price, or making it as accessible as possible, but also enjoy our after-sales expertise so that they can keep the vehicles for as long as possible. We also look into some CSR activities, how we're going to be able to contribute to our local communities. Recently, we did something called the Dream Car Art Contest, where we had children send in their drawings of the future of mobility or what that represents for them. And we were able to also give some cash prizes, to reward them for participating in that activity. So these are some of the things that we would like to do going forward to really establish Toyota by CFAO in Nigeria.
Quite interesting. I'd like to see some of those kids, what their imagination looks like when it comes to mobility. But thank you so much. It was great having you, Fumi Abiola, Head of Marketing Communications, CFAO Mobility. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, food inflation, how do we get those prices down? That's our next conversation. Just stay with us.
This week on Gist Nigeria, unraveling child abuse. We tell the heart-rending stories of children who have suffered domestic violence and hear from child rights experts on how to curb the menace. Also, 10 years on, we revisit Chibok in Borno State, northeastern Nigeria, and speak with parents of some of the abducted schoolgirls who are still in captivity. For these stories and more, watch Gist Nigeria from the BBC and Channels Television.
All right, Nigeria's food inflation is still on the front burner right now, but we'll look at some states with the highest level of food inflation. We see Kogi has about 48%, Kwara 46%, Akwa Ibom 45%. And looking at the numbers now, we see the rate of increase that's decelerated. That's for food inflation. It was about 3.79% in February, much lower, 3.62% in March. So definitely, we're looking for more deceleration and hopefully, pullback at some point. Joining us now is Ilyasu Ishak, Agribusiness Development Specialist, Managing Director, Salzium Green Limited. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so these inflation numbers are quite significant, at this time. And looking at the states, we're seeing the states are even much higher than the average, food inflation rates, that we have, for Nigeria. Talk to me about what we're dealing with here. We're a food basket. Why can't we get cheap food?
Yeah, definitely. We need to put some things into context to know that Nigeria, as a food production country, we are not being able to produce food 365 days a year. So we basically depend on rain-fed food production. Basically, more than 75% of our food production is being done during the rainy season. Little is being produced during the dry season. So definitely, that has to affect the inflow of food into the market. With recent crisis of insecurity, farmers not having access to their farmlands, levies putting on the farmers for them to access their farmland. This has significantly reduced our, annual production capability with respect to basic food. So this is some of the reason why we are witnessing this inflation, coupled with some other factors such as the, devaluation of Naira, which has, encouraged foreign entities to come to Nigeria and buy food, because to them, they are buying it cheap. They have the dollar, they come to Nigeria, they exchange, and they, to them it's quite cheap. While to us, because of the reduction in the purchasing power, we are buying it as at a more expensive price.
Because currency devaluation is not the worst thing in the world. It's good if you're an export, dependent country. That means you get more, sales, abroad. But talk to me now. What do you think is a short to medium term strategy, to bring down prices? Because the average Nigerian spends almost everything on food.
Yes. So the recent, gains of our national currency, the Naira, will play a significant role in bringing this inflation down. A lot of people are complaining that we have been witnessing the, upward, gain of Naira for the past 3 weeks, but it hasn't really affected the inflation rate. Yeah, the reason being that food inflation, the gains by Naira will not immediately reflect in the food inflation. So, but going forward, the recent gains by Naira will definitely stem the inflation, rate significantly, and also the reduction in the price of diesel, which is used in transporting food from, the farm to the market, to the urban centers, to even shelves of the supermarket. The reduction of in the price of diesel will significantly bring food inflation down as well. Also, because of the recent gains of the Naira, we will buy agricultural input at a more cheaper rate. So by this rainy season that we will soon start, the farmers are expected to, buys their normal input, such as fertilizer, which is the major agricultural input as far food production is concerned, at a very low price. Recently, the price of urea globally has been put at $315 per ton, which Indorama, last week pegged, bring out their new pricing for their product, which peg in urea fertilizer at 500,000 naira per ton, which will make a bag of urea now 25,000 naira from the 32,000 naira it used to be in the last 1 month. Also, the price of other fertilizer like NPK is expected to significantly drop from what it is, 42,000, 43,000, 41,000 to somewhere around 35,000, 36,000.
So all these are mostly external factors at this time that might play into the food inflation price.
Definitely.
But what can the government do, at this time to, bring some kind of succor to the people? Because at the end of the day, if you're paying so much, for food, and we also have, a healthy diet, that's also, rising at this time. What should be the plan of action for the government right now?
Government have started taking the right step already. By allowing importation of certain food items such as maize and soya into the country. So, we all know that, maize is among our staple foods. But at the same time, maize is a key raw material for a lot of industries, like the animal feed industry, and the likes, which couple of months ago, we were competing with these companies in accessing maize, in buying maize. Nigerian citizens are going to the market to buy maize to eat, while Olam and the likes are going to the market to buy maize to process into animal feed. There is no argument why the need for them to buy the maize, because of course we need to be able to produce enough animal feed that will which will enhance our livestock sector as well, because we are the same people that will go back there to buy the livestock and as well consume it. So looking at the friction that scenario caused, the federal government met with some key industry players under the National Economic Council and granted I would say approval for certain quality of some certain food items to be imported, such as maize, where government categorically made it clear that these processors are to import maize only for industrial purpose, not for consumption purpose. So it's really not affecting our drive of feeding ourselves. Okay. So that's maize price dropped from somewhere around 65,000 to 47,000 now. So at least we encourage importation of some necessary food product, which we are experiencing a shortage in the market. Also, government need to bring down tariffs in order to make prices more cheaper. Also, I think that it can never be
tariffs at the ports and tariffs, getting some of those foods out of the farms and to the markets, at this time. Yes. So I guess quite a lot to do there. But before I let you go, quick one: where do you see food inflation rate peaking?
For me, I think it has reached its peak level, I would say, due to these factors that I have mentioned. Yeah. So I'm hoping, or rather expecting, to see the inflation going down in the next coming month, especially when farmers go to the farm for this training.
All right, definitely hoping for the best, going forward, because we can't have food inflation skyrocketing any higher. Liasu Ishak, Managing Director, Salzium Green Limited. It was great having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, so there you have it. It's still all about inflation at this point, and hopefully, we'll get some tapering, going forward. So that's it. Looking forward to how the midweek trading session ends today. Hopefully, the bull makes some kind of appearance. That's for the local boss. I now hand things over to the Sunrise Daily team. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye-bye.
Welcome back from the Business Morning studios. I'm sure Ladi took you down that path of talking money and the hope that the inflation rates will drop real quick, especially as the Naira continues to gain against other currencies. But let's switch now to the situation in Kaduna. The political situation there, it's taking a different twist with the State House of Assembly setting up a 13-man panel to investigate the activities or loans and developments carried on by the previous administration. Honorable Yusuf Mugu, a member representing the Kaura constituency, moved to the motion on a matter of public importance that the loans borrowed by the former governor be investigated. He now joins us for this discussion. Honorable Yusuf Mugu, thank you for joining us. Honorable Mugu, are you there?
Well done. Welcome. The network over there seems to be cracking.
Okay, but can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. So let's get let's hit the ground running here. That motion you moved, just talk to us through it. Why did you move that motion? Okay, it looks like we're having some technical issues here. We'll come back to you in a moment. Let's see how we can rectify this real quick, and we'll continue with the conversation. Markwe, this Kaduna situation, well, some will say Kaduna has been in the news for a lot of reasons, not the kind of reasons you want. Kaduna is one of the most beautiful places if you ever want to visit the north, and it's considered the capital of northern Nigeria, so to speak. But this one just coming up here, a lot of people are like, what's
from the blues?
The
fact that the House of Assembly is set to probe a immediate past governor. Usually, some people will say, well, that's something that should be taken for granted. But, given the relationship between the immediate past governor and the current governor, people think that this is an indication that all might not be well, especially when the governor blurted out that he inherited a huge debt profile of $587 million, 85 billion naira, and also 115 billion naira in contractual liabilities, which is making it very difficult for him to be able to pay salaries.
But in this case now, this probe is strictly being handled, is a national
House of Assembly.
House of Assembly matter. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the governor directly.
But it is coming on the back of the governor's, announcement, or will I say his own revelation that this is what is happening, or this is what the situation of the state finances currently is. So it'll be interesting to know, because really and ideally, this kind of situation, this loan profile, debt burden we're looking at, should not have been done without the knowledge of the State House of Assembly in the first instance. So what exactly would they be hoping to reveal? Honorable Mogo, if you can hear us now, can you hear us?
It's better now.
Fantastic.
You're better up.
So can you tell us, because you were the one who moved the motion of urgent public importance on the floor of the State House of Assembly. Were you alarmed when you heard the revelation by the current governor on this particular matter?
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this on Channel TV and to brief the people on what has happened. I was not alarmed per se. The figures had not been the problem, but that we needed to investigate since there's public outcry as to whether such huge sums of money were properly utilized, either some of the loans were secured following due process, or whether the State House of Assembly actually gave their resolutions, the acquisitions of the loans, and to whether the loans after acquisition were properly appropriated, and whether the monies were used for the purpose for which they were asked to be used.
Well, I'm looking at the, let's say, the extent of the probe. You're going to be probing all financial transactions, loans, grants, and project executions between 2015 and 2023. That's the entire 8-year tenure of former Governor El Rufai. Isn't this a rather extensive period to be doing a probe over?
Incidentally, you were talking and the audio went off. Couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I was talking about the extent, the area that your probe is going to be covering. It's spanning a period of 8 years, and it looks like you want to probe everything that has, been carried out in Kaduna State that has to do with financial transactions over the last 8 years. Isn't that a lot?
Hello?
Can you hear me,
Honorable Yusuf? I appear to have had maybe about 50–60% of what you're trying to say, and as to if I repeat, whether you're asking whether I want to investigate the financial transactions between 2015 to 2023. Was that the question?
Yes, indeed. Please go ahead.
Yeah, well, because there's public outcry, remember, members of the House of Assembly are elected members representing their people. And when you have your people crying and making uncomplimentary comments, when they had the huge sums of money that have been sunk in, it is only good that we do the investigations so that even if there are points of accusations on the past administration, it is only this investigation that will either prove them wrong or right. And so what we are doing, we're not witch-hunting anybody, but we're only saying that accountability and transparency should be the watchword. My humble self sitting before you, I'm the chairman Public Accounts Committee, an office whose duty is to ensure transparency and accountability of all monies coming into Kaduna State. All we are saying is that they are meant to be used. But if the contrary is the case, whoever is involved, all the House is saying is that such money be returned to the state coffers because there is an outcry from His Excellency through the town hall meeting, which he held on the 28th of March, whereas a huge sum of $587 million is said to be hanging on the state, the Kaduna State, as debt, and another huge sum of 85 billion naira, also waiting with about 115 liabilities, that is contractual liabilities. So it is alarming. And secondly, to let you also know that Kaduna State has been rated as the second indebted state among the 36 states after Lagos. So faced by this, and with the obnoxious comments and uncomplimentary remarks Nigerians have been making, particularly citizens of Kaduna State, on the person of the governor and the governor office, we are not comfortable as an assembly. We therefore feel that when people cry, people are making some comments, we cannot afford to keep quiet. And in particular, I have a responsibility, being the chairman of the PAC office, that is Public Accounts Committee of the House, to voice out and to move for the motion that led to the discussions, that are on course.
Honorable Mugi, you don't think that doing this probe at this moment will be sort of a distraction?
Unfortunately, my communication with you is a little bit not good. I can't hear you properly.
Okay, I'm asking, can you hear me now?
Can you repeat your question?
Do you think that this might be a distraction from the governance process? I don't know, Malcolm.
In another form, maybe I might hear you.
Okay, well, let's take a brief moment. Well, we will continue our conversation here in the studio while the technical team tries to see if they can re-establish audio connection, because obviously your video connection is very clear with us. But let us see if some work can be done on that. Nyota, just taking a look at what is currently happening. while it is important, I mean, he has talked about transparency and accountability, and that the fact they're doing this on the outcry of the governor, they also, there will be talk. There is no way we can divorce politics and insinuations, considering the fact that shortly after the governor made that revelation, the former governor's son, had an outburst, accusing the governor of, sleeping in Abuja and having incompetent aides around him. Another of the governor's son, that's the immediate past governor, who is in the House of Reps, quickly came to the defense of the current governor, saying that, he thinks that he's well within his rights to do what it is that he's doing. But political undertones cannot be dismissed, because only recently the woman leader of the APC in Kaduna State was suspended over comments that she made as well. Now, whether the governor was the one who indicated that she should be suspended, but the party took that particular. This is certainly something that has the potential to divide members of the APC within Kaduna State. The gentleman whom we're speaking with, he is the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, which is something usually reserved for people in the opposition. And the PDP in the state, too, has also spoken extensively on this. They want the probe to be done expeditiously. So it'll be interesting to see how developments play out, in Kaduna State. But let us see if Honorable Mugu can hear us now.
Honorable Mugu, can you hear us?
Can you hear us now?
Honorable Mugu, can you hear us? You're muted. If you can hear us, please unmute. Oh, boy.
Okay, well, let's bring Ayo into this, because Ayo is sitting in Lagos and observing from a distance what is happening. And we know that Kaduna, sitting pretty in the northeastern parts of the country, is very, very closely connected to Abuja, but is also not so far from Lagos. So looking at what it is that you're seeing, with the developments we're currently seeing from Kaduna State, isn't this something that should be encouraged? I mean, the fact that there should be greater accountability on the part of those who have served in government or whilst they're serving.
Marco, you're so used to asking questions that you have made me a guest, but hey, that's also fine. I think one of the issues to really look at that, you've talked about something very, very salient, which is the political undertone. That, I don't know how the state government is going to undo itself or unlink itself from that political undertone. That's a very, very critical one. And then secondly, in that same light, don't forget that we've had situations where incumbents have been quote-unquote victims of their successors over in this our political history and the Fourth Republic that we have been here so far. Even when we have deputies who are in contention with their principles, we've also had successors who are one thing or the other, one way or the other, had issues with their predecessors. And so the political undertone is something that the state itself has to really, really deal with quite significantly. Maybe that's a question that we will put to Honorable Mugu now. Honorable Mugu, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you better now.
Oh, okay. So I'm sure you heard a few things that I say about this political undertone, given that successors have always had issues, where in some cases had issues with their predecessors and all of that. So that's one definite angle that people are wondering, this is all politics. How do you respond to them?
Well, be it as it may, yes, predecessors have sometimes had problems, although not in all cases. And sometimes there can be communication gap if issues are not properly explained. If you are taking the scenario of Kaduna State into question, yes, the current governor played prominent roles in the last administration, but that does not, he's not making anything that is on the contrary. All he's saying that the public should know that this is what he's facing, finding it difficult to pay salaries, He's not given any misgiving about how the state has been run, but all he's saying is that the indebtedness are huge. And so citizens are asking questions. Perhaps I've also had instances where some people accuse His Excellency Senator Obasani, the executive governor of Kaduna State, as being part of those who approved the loans that were collected. Again, I'm not defending him, but perhaps he supported because he believed the loans were to be used properly, effectively, and judiciously. But then, as it is, we cannot even preempt that the loans were not properly utilized, and that is why we are instituting the committee to investigate as empowered to us by Section 103 of the Constitution and Section 128 and 129. So the House have a duty to investigate as to whether the huge sum being said were properly utilized or not. So in essence, the current governor is not accusing anybody. He's only telling the public why certain government functions or projects, infrastructure development, payment of salaries cannot be effective.
In every probe, it's like a war. You only know how it's going to start. You don't really know, you may not be able to tell the kind of issues that will be raised. Should this probe indict the current governor, who, by going by the dictates of his office, cannot be probed now, what happens?
Of course, the law will take its course.
How? Remember, how will the law take its course?
The House of Assembly is not a competent court of jurisdiction, but we are playing legislative roles of oversight function, and that whichever ministry, department, or person or authority we have powers to appropriate money for, or we have power to make laws as to how money appropriated to such organization, such authority, or such persons, we do have power to investigate.
I'm not sure I'm not sure you got the question. Yes, go ahead.
If the outcome of the investigation indict the current governor, he should also be asked, assuming the investigation reveals that perhaps he was also a contractor, and who also was, because we have some evidence that some contractors have abandoned the project. Assuming the investigation reveals that he is one of those contractors, of course, we are talking of rule of law. There is no exception. We are equal before the law. But for us to play our roles as legislators, which is a clear function based on the separation of powers, we have to investigate. And in our submission, we say whoever is found to be involved, except for immunity clause, the governor will be brought to questions.
Now, I am not sure how that will go, seeing that by the Constitution, a sitting president or a sitting governor cannot be probed, cannot be tried. Would you expect the governor to waive that right should this investigation of the House indict him?
It's a matter of time. If he's indicted, assuming he has immunity clause that will cover him for now, he will never be a governor forever. But if on the other side, the outgone government is found to be guilty, all the House is saying is that they should be asked to refund. But as it is, we cannot preempt the outcome of the investigation. We are not already accusing anybody. We are only responding to what the people are accusing us of. They don't believe the money were properly utilized. Now, the investigation may reveal that indeed the money was properly utilized or otherwise.
Okay. Now, will this committee also, because when we talk about an administration, many times we make the mistake of thinking that it's just the executive in office at the time. The government of any day, in our kind of democracy, as in a few others all around the world, includes the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Is it just the federal, just the executive that is under probe, or the legislature is also under probe, including the judiciary? Well, I am not sure that Honorable Mugo can hear me. Because, Nyota Makwe, that's one of the questions that a number of people would need to really understand. An issue people need to really understand, that when we talk about government in a democracy, we're talking not just about the federal or state governments being the executive. The government of any day also includes the legislature, in this case, the State House of Assembly, and the judiciary in any state, and at the federal level as well. So I'm wondering if that's, if you think the probe is going to expand to that, because if, as he's also expressed, as some people may think it is a political thing, then where do we go from here, guys?
It's interesting that, as he says, continues to say, it's the cry of the people. The people are crying out, seeking accountability, and that's why the committee has decided to do this. It's time, I think, the citizens wake up and begin to hold government at all levels accountable.
It does appear Honorable
you
Mugo
signed up to this. What are you doing about this? You said you're going to do this, or this is what we agreed to. For instance, Kaduna signed into the open governance, something about open governance in 2018. Are they living up to that signing that they did?
Big question. Honorable Mugo is back. Honorable, can you hear us? Well, I was just posing a question to you about how far or wide this probe was going to go. So perhaps you might want to respond to it.
The question?
Ayo, do you want to retake the question again?
Exactly as you put it, Markwe. How far-reaching will it go? Is it just the administration, the executive arm of government at the time, or it's going to include the legislature under that administration and the judiciary?
And also the civil rights want.
I don't know if you caught my earlier question, Honorable. It does appear that there's been a mix-up, but I'm wondering whether, you have started receiving accusations that you are just being a political tool, that the Kaduna State House of Assembly is just being a political tool. What would you say to those people who accuse you of that?
Yes. Your mouth movement.
Oh, dear. So we can hear you, Honorable. Can we just ask you what your last words are on this particular matter?
Last words.
What will your last...
I think, we will advise the general public to be calm with us, to give us time to do the investigation. In as much as we are not witch-hunting anybody, we will be just and fair to everybody. If you have no skeleton in your cupboard, there's no cause for alarm. Stakeholders and agencies involved in what we are trying to investigate to keep calm if their hands are clean. We too, on the other side, as legislatures, if there are roles we have played, he who goes for equity must go with clean hands. If there are roles we have played that are also indicting, I can assure you of a clean, sincere, and transparent report at the end of the investigation.
Well, we have to thank you very much for your time this morning, Honorable Yusuf Mugu, who is the Chairman, Public Accounts Committee, and also a member representing Kaurak constituency in Kaduna State. We certainly will be looking forward to the outcome of your probe. Thank you so much for speaking to us on Sunrise Daily this morning in spite of the difficulty.
Oh, well, I do hope that eventually, because Honorable Mugu was part of the 9th Assembly that approves those loans. So in probing the previous administration, he'll probably have to answer himself how they were also able to approve some of those loans and what they did in terms of oversight in the expeditious use or the use of those loans that were obtained. But hey, what do we know? We can only ask the question.
We know that it's just the beginning of a start of events in Kaduna State. As you rightly asked, Nyota, there'll be questions as to whether this might not constitute a distraction. Because when the revelations begin to come out, then blames are getting apportioned. Will the people of Kaduna State be holding the short end of the stick at the end of the 4-year tenure? But that's where we'll have to leave the program today, because we're totally out of time. We hope that you have sent your communication, whatever it is you wanted to send to us, via our numerous platforms. Sunrise Daily at channelstv.com is the email address to use if you want to send a mail. Engaging with us on X, Sunrise Daily Now is the handle on X, also known sometimes as Twitter. Well, it's been taken over now by X. But just in case you're wondering, I don't think anyone who's on that platform should be wondering, though. Nah. Anyways, that's where we'll have to wrap it up this beautiful morning. It's been wonderful, spending time with you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maokwe Yusuf.
And I'm Neo Taigbe. Have yourself a beautiful day and be the best that you can be.
And I'm Ayamakide. Do have a fruitful day.